Good evening and welcome to this online tasting with Royal Mile Whiskies, the Sherry Bomb Whisky Appreciation Society and the Isle of Arran Distillers. My name is Arthur Motley. I am the Purchasing Director at Royal Mile Whiskies and the Drinkmonger, and I've been a part of this project to bottle this cask on behalf of the Sherry Bomb Whisky Appreciation Society, kindly provided to us by the Isle of Arran. So this is an online kind of taste-along tasting. You may or may not have the same drams at home. Hopefully you've got an Arran that you can taste along. But if you do have these whiskies, just so you know what we are tasting, we are going to taste, first of all, Arran 10-year-old, then Arran Bodega sherry casks, and then finally the single cask whiskey that this tasting celebrates, which is the Sherry Bomb Whisky Appreciation Society Deployment 3, which is now sold out. It's sold very well indeed. Good whiskey chat. Bear with me 1 second, I'm just trying to get that to go away. We've got some good whiskey chat, and you can participate as well. If you type in the comments on Facebook or YouTube, this is being beamed on the Arran Facebook page, as well as the Sherry Bomb Whisky Appreciation Society page and Royal Mile Whiskies page. So if you put something in the comments, these kind of pop up in our screen, and we'll put the best comments and questions on screen as well. So let's bring in Sean, our main host for this evening. Hi Sean, how are you doing?
Hi Arthur, very well, thank you. You?
Good, yeah, not bad at all. It's a slightly busy, crazy time of year, but it's nice actually to have a dram on screen like this. It's almost nostalgic. There was a while, of course, a period when we were doing this, it seemed every week, these online tastings.
Yeah,
it's quite nice to do them again.
That was the plus side of COVID. Everyone was drinking more at home, doing virtual sessions.
Yeah. So, and congratulations on this bottling as well. It's your third bottling, your second one, which has been on sale through us at Royal Mile Whiskies. They've both done really well and been really well received. Yeah,
thank you. No, it's been. I wouldn't say surprising, because I had a feeling they'd sell out fairly quickly, but it's just really good with the support the members of the group have given and the popularity, and with that popularity and the messages that we've had, it just spurs us on to investigate more things like this, because it's just a really good thing to do for a group. It's been good.
Yeah, I think it's really, I mean, when you first, I think you came to me with the idea, or it just came up in conversation, I don't even remember actually, but the concept of us being the retailer and selling the whiskey, I was really enthusiastic, because I had already seen the impact and the significance of groups like yours. There are others within whiskey and others in different spirits as well. I saw the impact and the significance of these groups really growing in terms of being centres where opinions were formed about whiskey or rum or whatever spirits they were. And it kind of almost a community, or the way that great whiskies were decided that they were great had changed from the days when I first came into the industry, where it was a kind of the big men of whiskey like Michael Jackson and Dave Broom and Jim Murray. Sure, they still have an impact, but we really feel it as retailers now, that if you lot decide collectively that this is the whiskey, then we really see it in sales and what people are asking for.
It's quite fascinating, because on any of these groups and any of the platforms, be it Twitter or Facebook, if one person says something's really good and then someone then tries that and then they pipe up, actually it is really good, and you get this kind of huge wave of people buying a product. It's not just whiskey, it's with anything nowadays, isn't it? And social media is a huge mechanism for influencing products. So the Sherry Bomb group has been really, really interesting to watch how that grows. and how trends appear and how distilleries are more popular than others and how a particular bottle sells out super quick. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see. And it's really fun to be part of that as well.
Yeah, and I think you've done a really good job stewarding that, because I think we're almost in phase 2 of the lifespan of these fan groups within. Typically, I think Facebook is the key one here, and we've already seen some turn nasty almost, or more negative than positive, or the balance between negativity and positivity going the wrong way. I think you've done a really good job in terms of stewarding people together, fostering that community spirit, because sometimes it can be a bit of a battle.
Oh no, thanks. To be honest, the members, 99.9% of the members they're all of the same thinking, and it's all really positive. And also because the group's agnostic, so there is no preferred distillery. So it's any distillery, but the common theme being sherried whiskey. There is a lot less infighting that goes on there because everyone's got slightly different opinions and they all kind of complement each other. So the stewarding is there, but it's not required all the time. It's a well-behaved group, to be honest. They're brilliant. They're really good members.
Yeah, but I think it's worthwhile saying what an important part of the community groups like yours are. UK Rum Club is another one if you're into rum. The work that Stephen and Wes do is brilliant as well, and that's interesting actually because that's non-specific. Okay, that's an entire category, but I still think it's a role that the host kind of plays as well. In the rum example, there's people coming to them asking them about Pink Pigeon and all these weird spiced terrible rums, and they kind of very politely say, no, this is maybe not the group for you, because they're into Foursquare and Hamden and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, important and significant part of the landscape, and great to see this one do well, and fun to be talking about other projects and trying to find other things together to put in front of the group, always with your core values, which are good value and high quality, I suppose.
Yeah, you can't price yourself out of a product. It's got to be affordable, but it's also got to be high quality, and it's becoming more and more difficult to balance those two things up, but they can be found and it can be done. It takes a bit of effort.
Do you find your percent? I mean, obviously I've been a part of a little bit more a part of the industry than you are. You're coming that a little bit closer and starting to have those pricing discussions. Have there been things that surprised you about the way the industry works?
Yeah, loads of things. And I think that with anything, the more popular a product is, the more aggressive the pricing becomes, because the demand goes up, and the less popular a product is, then the pricing can falter. And with this particular product, it's becoming more and more clear that prices are going up. And lots of people are saying the quality is going down, but I don't see that at all. I see the quality staying the same, if not improving, because there's more things appearing. And the reason more things are appearing is because the demand is there to create those new things. So it's been interesting. It's been very interesting. Yeah. Long gone are the days where you could go out and buy like a 21-year-old single cask for under £100. And you have to spend wisely now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the other thing that I'm thinking now about our discussions, and there are times where, I've virtually laughed in your face when you said, "What about Distillery X?" And I just know already from having bottled my own single casks, or for the company, I should say, that there's just they cannot get their head around the idea of bottling a single cask. And more power to people like Arran, Glenallachie, who do see that as a really valuable job to do, even though it's more time consuming and there's a limited number of bottles they sell, but some companies just can't even consider it.
I think they're missing the trick, to be honest, and I'm not saying that just as a consumer, and I'm not saying that just as somebody who wants to bottle for private group, but I think they're missing a trick, because if you release something exclusively through a group, inevitably what happens is people will try that and then they'll think, oh, that's pretty good. I'll try the core range of this, and I'll try this other bottling which is related to this one, and it can have a positive impact. But if they don't want to do that, then that's their prerogative, I guess. But as you say, more for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But Arran were great.
They did. They're brilliant. Yeah, and really lovely people to work with as well.
Speaking of which, we bring in the star of the show, Mariella.
Hello. Start of the show, I don't think so. But hi. Hi, hello everyone. And hello everyone that is joining us from home as well. Lovely to see some of the comments already. We are streaming on 3 different platforms, so this is pretty fun. Hi to Arran Whisky people, hi to Royal My Whisky people, and hi to Sherry Bomb Whisky Cask Appreciation Society people. That took me 5 minutes to say.
Right, I'm actually at this point, I'm going to retreat in the background. I'm going to keep an eye on comments for you guys, and I'll just bring in the rest of your guests that you've invited on. Sean.
Yeah, so we've got 3 other Sherry Bombers joining us. So we've got Paul, Jamie, and Ross, who are all part of the group. And what we'll do is we'll just have a bit of banter, talk about Arran in general. I think Mariella's going to take us through a bit of a journey of Arran as well. And then without speaking too much, we'll get on as quickly as possible to the tasting bit, which is the main bit, the fun bit. And as Arthur said, we'll do the 10, the Bodega Sherry Cask, and then the Deployment 3.
And let's not forget the ballot, the old school ballot that we're going to run at the end of the tasting as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
For those of you that are joining in just to find out if you won something. I don't know if we said what was the prize or not. Maybe we did say. I don't remember if we said.
We did. We did.
Cool. So just in case someone is waiting, you have to wait You have to wait for the tasting to happen. So pull yourself a drum and join in, and join in the fun and the chat. But hi guys. Anyway, how are you all doing? Good, Jamie, Paul, Ross. You're doing great.
Yeah. Good evening. How are you?
Excellent.
Yeah, it's good. So yeah, I think I should say just a little bit. I think I should talk about Arran a bit, just so that we all know where we are, what we're doing, what the company is doing these days. So I love Arran Distillers. Where to start? The main thing, the thing that we shout from the rooftop, is the fact that we're an independent whiskey company, which I think is pretty refreshing these days in the industry, as there are more and more companies being, owned by the big guys, as we say. So working for Arran is it's quite lovely. I really like it. There is a very friendly atmosphere, and there is this feeling of working for a company which is made of a passionate team, which cares about just putting in the market a good quality product. At the end of the day, being independent allows us to follow, the journey of our whiskey from grain to glass. So the whiskeys we'll try today have the classic, independent company traits, with them. So unchill filtered whiskeys, uncollared whiskeys, bottled at 46% or higher. And in terms of how we make whiskey, I'm talking obviously about Locranza Distillery, which is our main distillery in the northern part of the island, the one that has been producing liquid since 1995, so 26-year-old young small distillery. I call it a Speyside from an island in terms of style, in a way that you can get Speyside flavors from our whiskeys. Like, it's a very fruity floral drum. If you have had the chance to try our new make, or like a younger, Arran, especially matured in bourbon cask, you know exactly what I mean. It's vanilla all the way, as I like to say. It's very sweet, orchard fruits, like very, very floral, very fruity, but it still holds a nice Highland character. Like, I still think that it has a very nice texture that can be like a little bit waxy, a bit oily, a bit creamy, but the very slow distillation that we do in Locranza, one of the slowest in the industry, allows us to create that spirit that can be super fun, super sweet, super fruity, but still as a bit of a Highland mark, when you try it. It goes down smoothly, but it's still quite characteristic on the palate. So I hope that people that drink our whiskeys and like our whiskeys agree. I like to show our whiskeys, especially at a younger age, because I think that the spirit does show a bit more maturity than what it is, especially the deployment 3. We were just talking about that before. It's 7 years old. And I just had a cheeky dram before, the stream to just calm the nerves. And yeah, if I didn't know, I would have never said.
Well, that was one of the well, two of the reasons why I wanted to do deployment 3 is what it is, because first of all, Arran, everyone's heard of Arran, but not everyone's actually tried an Arran. And I don't, at the time of kind of like looking at these casks with you, Mariella, there wasn't much chatter on the page about Arran either. So it's a really, really lovely distillery, and it ticks many boxes for me because it does really lovely sherried whiskies. And the other reason why we went with deployment 3 as well is because it's a young whiskey, but it doesn't taste like a typical 7-year-old whiskey. And it was a bit of a blindside. It was a bit of a gamble for me, and it was a bit of a blindsider for everyone, because what I wanted to do was to choose something that was really not immature, but young. But didn't give the preconception or didn't taste like a typical young whiskey and surprise people. And I personally think I've achieved that. Well, you've achieved that, I should say, because it might be 7 years old, but it really does hold itself as an older whiskey. It's got the viscosity, it carries the flavour, it's not too spirit forward, it's got a brilliant balance. Well, we'll talk about this when we actually go through the actual tasting, but I'm really glad I picked Arran for the 3rd deployment, because I think it was a nice example of something that was slightly unusual.
Yeah, thank you. It was lovely to receive that message. I mean, we go back from my Scotch Malt Whisky Society times, like quite a few years ago. But it's been lovely to see you also as a person on socials, and then with your own website, just like get full on into your whiskey passion and see it growing and evolve so much. So when I got the message, you were interested in doing an Arran, I really tried my best to try to do it, in the best and the fastest possible way, because I obviously believe in what you do. And I think the Sherry Bomb Whiskey Association group is a great asset. I love, I get notifications every day on my page anyway, but I just love to see what people are into these days. And there's definitely a trend. People do like their sherry bombs, and it's just lovely to see this community of whiskey drinkers just coming together and recommending things to each other and sending links every now and then, and giving these special tips. So I am honored that Arran is in that now. We're also part of that, and I'm glad that more and more people recognize us as well, because I think you're right. The distillery is definitely slowly getting more recognition since the rebrand and our 25th anniversary. But the most important thing is that we're getting a bit of that recognition thanks to the liquid alone. Like, I love to hear people just say that they enjoy a dram because of, how the liquid shines, in their glass and what it means to them. So I'm glad that we've achieved that with the deployment 3 as well.
Good. And someone's just commented, yes, we love sherry bombs. So that's just as well, really.
But that would have been weird if no one said that,
What are you doing on this? Yeah.
But do you like sherry bombs?
So before we get it, so just conscious of time, just before we get into the tasting, the question to Paul, Jamie and Ross is, what's your opinion of Arran? What's your opinion generally of their style?
I think I'll say that. So I think Arran's one that because I've been sort of around and in the whiskey enthusiast side of things for quite some time. I've always been aware of it, especially from some of the sort of the fun, almost sort of limited bottlings they've done over the time, but also their core range. So I almost feel when you say it's up and coming, but I've known about it for ages, and I've been enjoying it. But I always enjoy Arran. I like I find it a very accessible whiskey. And I think when you go on the journey with the range, it can, you can sort of grow your whiskey experience with it. So early on, when I wasn't really spending very much on whiskey, it was one of the first sort of young standard ones I bought, and it was probably one of the whiskeys that made me think, okay, there's a lot more to explore here, and there's others as well. But it's a great one for bringing people on the journey and helping them explore. And of course, find other distilleries along the way. So I've always found it sort of one that I'm aware of. So I'm interested that it's sort of getting a wider audience now.
Yeah,
it's
I
a good
mean,
point.
I was going to say to kind of agree with that as well. I mean, it's just Arran's one that just probably came onto my radar relatively recently, and I think what we're seeing in the introduction there, that it's almost like a space side, flavor to it, which is kind of like I try and teach my kids to try something different. And I mean, I'm always kind of like the kind of heavily sherried influenced Glenallachie's, Glendronach, Cedar Dowers, etc., which is always my kind of go-to. But I've just been kind of
feeding your kids whiskey, Ross.
Well, no, but they know a lot about it, funnily enough. So I was quite tempted to use it when they were teething, but I better didn't. This is going live, so I didn't do it. So, but no, I think that the spirit's great, and I think that I can really relate to it when I've been tasting some of the kind of sherry influenced ones, and obviously the bottling that Sean's put together, which didn't really last too long with some of the people I was sharing it with as well, and the feedback's just been really good, and I think it's just been off of a few people's radars, but it's getting really on it now. I mean, you can see how quickly a lot of these special bottlings that you're putting out are selling so quick, and I think people are becoming more aware of the quality of it and where its price and structure is as well. It's great. I must admit, it's definitely now in my whiskey cabinet as well. So yeah, it's great. Really enjoy it.
Thank you.
That's great. So do we want to kind of jump into the tasting maybe of the first one?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so first one up is the Arran 10 from the core range. Mariella, this is, I think it's over to you, really.
Yeah.
To talk us through this.
Absolutely. One of my favorites of the range, but I think if you were to ask anyone in my company if they had to swear by the one product of the range that just showcases exactly what we want to do as a company, the quality of the spirit that we want to put out as also as an accessible everyday, like a solid dram, that would be the 10-year-old. I'm calling it, like, personally, one that never disappoints. It's like, when you go to maybe a new whiskey bar, they have an okay selection, and you see, like, those 2-3 drams that that wherever you go in the world, whenever you try, that a dram is going to be just like good quality, like, in a good dram, wherever you are. So that's the 10-year-old for me. In terms of what goes into our 10-year-old, it's actually 100% bourbon cask matured whiskey, which is then finished for a minimum of 6 months in first fill oloroso sherry cask. I know that some drinkers, some people that are following us today might have tried our Arran 10-year-old before the rebrand, so before 2019. The recipe was similar, but not quite, as if it was a mixture of sherry and bourbon casks together, mostly bourbon. So it was much fresher and summier, if that's a word. To me, the 10-year-old is like perfect autumn time. In Scotland, we don't have a very long autumn. We had an autumn that lasted a month, but 2 weeks ago, I was going to say it was the perfect time for this for this whiskey. Now it's already too late. But in terms of flavor, I think it's a sort of like nice, warming, malty, like sweet malty whiskey that is just perfect when the weather starts getting a little bit chillier and just want like this beautiful, fruity, sweet dram, to warm you up. Bottled at 46%, of course, unfiltered and colored. We try to, bring it to the world as natural as possible. Someone mentioned it in the comments already, not to brag, but I think this is the one that is getting more recognition at the moment because of the online Scotch Whisky Awards that went on a few weeks ago, and we were super honored, super grateful to win the best single malt Scotch for them. Like, that was obviously chosen by people, so it's a wonderful recognition. So yeah,
It's great. Very good. You mentioned 2 words there which really hit home. So I only until recently I've had the 10, and I can't believe I haven't had it until now. So it's really malty and it's really sweet on the finish as well. Mm-hmm. And I think it punches above its weight as a 10-year-old. So is this a common theme with Arran, that the age doesn't really denote what you get?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's also like the reason why a lot of people don't question our non-age statement whiskies, and like the sherry cask or the quarter cask or the wine cask finishes. We're more than, independent company, we're more than happy to honestly say, like, what goes on in every product. We just don't put it on a label because it would be a nightmare every single batch, every single year to change the label is something, like changes. But I think I think the liquid, like, it definitely shows a little bit more maturity than what it really is. Like, I think the 10 is definitely more in a 12, 13 territory for me. And I think that's why a lot of people used to love our 14-year-old, which was super juicy, super big, super, lovely. And I think it's the same reason. It just shows like a little bit more maturity for what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really stunning core range. And it's almost at the bottom of the core range, isn't it? I guess so. It's not the yeah. And then you have you have other casks as well, like, or other finishes like Amarone.
The port and Sauterne. Yeah, we have 6 non-age statement whiskies in the core range: the Barrel Reserve, Quarter Cask, Sherry Cask, and the free wine finishes. And then we have 10, 18, and 21. As we have a little gap between the 10 and the 18, but we're building up stock again. We decided to open a distillery in the 90s, which was the worst possible time to open a distillery. So so we're slowly, building up the missing ages, the missing stock in our warehouses as time goes by.
Yeah,
but hopefully in a few years, we'll bring something else out. But as you said, with Affer, we do believe in single casks. We do bottle quite a lot of single casks for different markets around the world and for our distillery as well. So there is a chance that you can, encounter a 14, 15, 13-year-old Arran in single cask form, every now and then, which is a bit of a treat.
Yeah, it's great. Guys, what do you think of the 10?
On this one, I'm getting peaches, almost the finish of tin peaches in here. I think because it's a bourbon cask that you're saying has been finished maybe for 6 months in Oloroso, I was expecting more dark fruits and Christmas cakey, and it's not the sherry bomb as such. It's much more gentle, but there's a sweetness, and I think I'm getting tin peaches in syrup on the finish, and sort of melon peachy notes on the nose. It's really lovely. It's very Moorish.
Paul, can I dip some Nice biscuits into your tin peaches? Because
you can.
for me, there is this biscuitiness that comes with it, and I don't know if I'm just being led by the picture behind us all, but to me, it smells like September. It's got that sort of late summer cornfields touch on the nose. That sort of that smell that if you live anywhere in the country makes you think someone's been out with a combine harvester. And it's beautiful. It's somewhere between a summer whiskey and an autumn and a winter whiskey without being autumn. It's the Indian summer of whiskies. I love it. And I think it's easy when you go along your whiskey journey and you start to get a chance to try the sort of up the range things. And this is a real reminder to me that price should not be an indicator at all of the quality of what's in your glass, because this is terrific.
Actually, Gerhard's just said he likes that it's not oaky, and it's malty. So that Jamie, you're saying that picture in the background, that's very that's quite apt, because it is really malty and there is no kind of bitter wood oakiness coming through at all. No, it's good.
It's just like a nice Biscoff biscuit. It's a nice little caramel taste, and you get the multi flavors through it as well. And it's great to see a 10-year-old core range at 46% as well.
Oh yes,
definitely.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's a really good point. So distilleries are releasing core range even up to the nearly 20 years old, and they're coming out at 40%. And for me, it just doesn't carry the flavour at all, and it's just too. I think it's just too weaker ABV. So 46% on something like this is really good. It's a good move by Arran. I'm sure it costs them more to do, but I think the value you get in the result of drinking it will make you go back and get more.
I always think it says something when a distillery or any bottler is not bottling at the bare minimum. It says they care about about bottling it at the right ABV for the spirit. When I see 40, I kind of think, well, that's the bare minimum, and it makes me super curious as to what it could have been like. As soon as you start to go up the ladder, as it were, you think, okay, this is about getting it right for the experience rather than the accountants. Sorry to the accountants on that call.
No, absolutely. I think we will keep that 46% for our core range, and by core range I mean the 10. The age statements, they're all 46%, and I think they should be. I do like the ABV quite a lot. But yeah, I also enjoy like the wine cast finishes at 50. I actually think that some of them are made for the ABV, and I agree with you completely. Some drams definitely deserve a bit of a higher ABV. There's just something, magical about the perfect spot, that alcohol level. Absolutely.
Yeah, really good, really good.
Yeah.
Nearly finished it. That's how good it is. It's dangerous when you're doing a StreamYard.
Yeah. So someone is actually asking about why don't we put age statements on our labels for the younger core range? It's because everything varies from batch to batch, and that's just the truth for us. Again, we're a small company, so we really just bottle what we can, essentially. So sometimes the whiskey can be a little bit older, sometimes it can be a bit younger. We normally say that our non-shipment whiskeys go from 6 to 8 years old. There's always like a 6-7-year-old whiskey that is finished in something else. Because it's a matter of months, we decide not to put an age statement on it, because it can vary batch, and we don't want to commit to one, number alone. So yeah, and then, as I said before, we just hope that people that know us and know the quality of our spirit, and they know, who we are and what we do, they will, trust us and enjoy our whiskeys no matter what, no matter not having a number on our labels, if you know what I mean.
And there's another question that's come up on the public chat from Antonia, and they've said that 46 to 50% is heaven. I would pretty much agree with that. It's a really, really good kind of benchmark for a whiskey. I generally drink cask strength anyway, but when you go to a 46 to 50%, when you get to that 50%, that's really giving some punchy flavors and carrying stuff through in the oil and all of the character of the that distillery. So I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next one? So we've there you go. Oh, it's come up before I'd even finished.
Magically coming off on screen.
the Bodega Sherry cask, which is a little bit more powerful at 55.8%.
Yeah, so this product is new, actually. It's relatively new. It was only launched in 2019, a few years ago, when the rebrand happened. We've always been very careful, I want to say, with our finishes. If you tried our, wine cask finishes or the quarter casks, we never really wanted to use casks that were a bit too overpowering, if you know what I mean. And I think with this bottle, instead, we'd let the casks do a bit more talking and do get over a little bit of our Arran character, because we thought it was the right thing to do. We had good quality Oloroso casks for this product, and we just let it mature for around 6-7 years. And we decided to bottle it unfiltered, uncolored cask strength at 55.8%. We obviously called it the sherry cask, the bodega, because that's what it says on the tin. It's matured in sherry casks. The bodega is just a little nickname, obviously being the house of the sherry making in Spain, like in Andalusia and Jerez. So the bodega would be like the vineyard house, the chateau that we would call in France. And we also thought that there was a demand, obviously, for sherry cask whiskies, but there was also demand for good quality sherry cask whiskies, cask strength, especially for some of the iconic ones getting quite higher in prices, or like more limited, like more rarer to get. So we thought, why don't we just put out a product that is available all year round, sherry bomb cask strength for everyone to enjoy. And since we released it, has been a big success. So I know I'm talking to sherry bombers here, so I'll leave it to you to tell me what you think.
Well, I've got a question about the cask. So, is there a reason why Arran choose Oloroso over any other type of sherry cask?
Yeah, mostly because our liquid tends to be quite sweet. So our new make, we already start in the mash tun with a clear wort, which is quite already is an indication of our wash being quite fruity, quite floral, again, not very nutty, earthy, dry sort of flavors. And then when the spirit comes through, and our spirit stills, our new make tends to be quite sweet. So I think Oloroso casks tend to balance the new make very well. We did use like other types of sherry casks in the past from different bodegas in Jerez as well. We used Amontillado, we used Palo Cortado before. We used plenty of wine. I don't know if you ever seen like the billions of different wine casks that we use since 1995. But I think now with our core range, whenever I talk about sherry cask, I talk 100% about Oloroso because it gives that dryness, a bit of like those tannins, that darkness that fights back a bit of that sweetness that Arran whiskeys tend to have already, just on their own, if matured in bourbon casks.
Interested to hear what Jeremy, Paul, and Ross think of the bodega.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I don't know what the guys are thinking, but I think on the nose, I was getting it like when you open up a Terry's chocolate orange, and you get that kind of like a chocolate smell with a little bit of hint of orange there. And then on the palate, I was getting quite a lot of the like cherries and raisins. But I mean, the legs on the glass. I mean, it's a very slow running, and it's absolutely stunning. Really nice.
I'm going to go down a different track with it because whilst I agree with all of that, I'm also getting something of the savoury to it, and I haven't managed to put my finger on what that is yet. But it's what I would sometimes describe as quite a meaty whiskey, and that doesn't mean bitter or tannic or anything like that. It's what's the flavour thing? It's almost got a bit of umami to it. What's that word? And is anyone else getting that, or am I on my own there?
Yeah, I think if you're saying savoury, you'd probably something like the Spanish ham, maybe the dried ham.
Oh yes, the sweet Iberico. There we go. That'll do. Thanks, Sean.
I have to say, Jamie,
anytime I'm here.
I think Ross nailed it for me. There's definitely, certainly on the finish as well, there's dark chocolate. There's sort of chocolate orange on the nose, and there's chocolate raisins. It's definitely more of your classic sherry bomb. But the one thing that's really struck me, 55.8%, and it does not taste of a high ABV whiskey that you'd expect from this. It's so gentle on your palate. It's lovely. There's lots of fruit, lots of flavors going on, but it's certainly not at all alcohol heavy to taste. It's lovely.
It's not. I think it takes water as well. It's a good one because you can either drink it neat as it is straight out the bottle, and you're right, Paul, you get all of those kind of like it doesn't taste like a 50. What was it? 55.8 was it? Yeah, 55.8. It doesn't taste like a 55.8 at all. But then if you put a bit of and someone's Tony said plum. Yeah, that's a good shout actually. Yeah, plum. But you can add a tiny bit of water to it just to kind of bring that kick down a bit, and it takes it really well. It'd be good to know if anyone's kind of watching this, is to get your opinions of these whiskies that we're tasting as well, because everyone's palates are different. Toffee apple, warm toffee apples. Yeah, red berries. There's loads of tasting notes coming in now. Yeah. How would you describe it, Mariella?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I know some people will hate me for this, but we're definitely, I think, in a bit of Christmas cake territory here.
So at least you didn't say smooth.
I can't believe no one mentioned the Christmas cake yet. Come on, guys. There's only like a couple of weeks to go. No, I'm joking, but definitely, I am actually. I think this grows on me. I'm actually sometimes I do find it a little bit hard with sherries and just first sip. But I think after the first sip, when you try it again, I agree with Paul. It just drinks like a bit too well. Like I actually think it's very. It makes you like the savoriness. It makes you salivate a little bit, and it's like very mouth coating, and it's loved, and it warms you up, and it's delicious. I normally tell people this reference, which I've learned from ex-colleagues down in London. One thing you want to do if you have a bit of your Arran sherry cask at home is actually grab a pipette, fill it with the Arran sherry cask, grab a mince pie, stab the mince pie and let the whiskey like get absorbed by the mince pie, and then devour mince pies like there's no tomorrow right before Christmas. And you're welcome, of course. I'm here to give food pairings and food ideas with whiskey all day.
So if you can't find a Glen Carn, just get a mince pie.
If you don't like mince pies, just do it with whatever you have at home. Don't worry about it.
Am I allowed to dip my mince pie and do it the other way around? Just dip it in my whiskey.
If
Or
your
put it
glass
all in
is big
put it
enough.
all in a blender and get a straw. It's even better.
Yeah.
Someone has said salted caramel, so I'm feeling slightly better about my savoury comment from earlier. There we go. I haven't got any water with me, unfortunately. I should have done that, but I must say I'm quite enjoying it.
It works. It works without water, and it works with a tiny bit of water as well. I think if you put too much water in, you really lose the character. So for me, it's a very tiny amount, literally a few drops, just to open it up a bit.
There's always that point where something falls apart with water, and if you can, it's just a little bit at a time, isn't it? And
but I think, for the price point as well. I mean, how much does this retail for roughly, Mariella?
I should know, shouldn't I? 54.95.
So £55. I mean, that's cracking. That's a really
For a
good
cask strength whiskey. Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. It's
when you
really
think
good
what
price.
that puts it up against, and how some of the most obvious answers to what it puts up against have waxed their prices up.
Well, they have, and the ones
yeah.
the ones that you're talking about are the they begin with a GLEN, and
Or an ABE. Yeah.
but their cask strength releases that complement the core ranges, they've really shot up in price, really have. So this is a good. I wouldn't say alternative. It is an alternative maybe, but it complements the others as well.
Mariella, is this always going to be part of your core range then?
Yes, so actually this is a new thing. So this is going to be that's why it's a beauty, because it's going to be available all year round, and we bottle it. I think we bottle it once a year, if not in emergency cases, maybe like a couple of times a year. So it should be that's our version of like a sherry bomb that is accessible, that you can find all year round, which, as I said, is very new for us, because we never really had a product like this before. We did sherry casks, sherry finishes, single casks, but it's the first time that we put out in the market a product like that, and it goes very well side by side with our quarter cask, which is the opposite in the other direction, which is like bourbon casks and bourbon quarter casks. So you can choose what sort of flavor profile cask strength whiskeys you want between the two. I also just quickly need to say hi to Jill, because she said hi in the chat. She's the loveliest woman ever. So hi, Jill. Thank you for watching this. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Sorry, just a quick hello. Shall we try our deployment free?
Yeah. The main event.
Yeah.
I love this sound. There it is.
Yeah, smelling it from the bottle, it's even better than smelling it from the glass.
It does. I mean, to be fair, I don't really need to say much about this, because the notes that are on the bottle and that went on the website is me. So you know what I think about it. But it's good. It's really good.
Tell us in the comments if you've opened and if you tried it as well. But I've tried it, as I told Sean. I tried it previously for the first time after sending you the sample, and then you chosen But I tried all of the samples. So then I'm glad you've chosen this, because now that I try it again after being bottled, is fantastic.
I want to hear what everyone listening in and watching in on this and the guys on this stream think of it as well, because I say all of our palates change and they're different, but there's everyone who's contacted me and I've spoken to, there has been a kind of a common theme running through this particular whiskey, so I'm quite interested to hear what people think.
Yeah, it's all right, Sean. It's not bad.
It's all right. It's all right.
Decent.
There's a lot of spices in there. I'm getting immediately. My first thought is it's quite different to the last one and it's a similar age and a similar wood. I think this has just been in Oloroso. You didn't change it though, so it has. Was the other one in Oloroso the whole way?
No, actually, the sherry cask is a mixture of sherry hogsheads mostly, and there's also an element of bourbon barrels being mixed in, and then everything is finished. I think for like 9 to 12 months into first fill Oloroso, just like the 10. But obviously, the finish is a little bit longer and takes over much more. So
This has got it's cola, but it's not Coke. It's more like that sort of really good cola you get from like Fentimans or something like that, where you can smell all of the cloves and the spices coming through it, and it's not just a red can that they make billions of cans of. So yeah, it's like cloves and really sticky raisins.
I think the finish is, you say sticky raisins, it's really sweet and sticky on the finish, and it just hangs around at the back of the palate for ages.
I mean, I was just going, it does, doesn't it?
It's what we've got up here in the northeast of Scotland. The sticky toffee pudding. That's what I like to kind of refer to on the nose, and I got a lot of honey as well. And you definitely feel, I think, the sherry influence with the Arran spirit is just like completely balanced with this one. I was getting a little bit of kind of sweet pipe tobacco, so just like a tiny little influence of smoke in it, just enough to just say hello, I'm here. But it's a cracking drum.
I'll tell you, some of the note and comments are coming up, and Ross, what you just said about the tobacco, for me, I picked it up right at the end, and it just gave a quick hello, I'm here, and it's really lovely. It doesn't take over. It's just right at the end, and some of the notes. So cola cubes. David said, some bullion cube. Yeah, that's quite that's slightly savoury, I guess.
I agree with what Anthony says there. I have to say the complexity of this, because it changes as you go through the sort of whiskey journey from nose to palate to finish. It's just it just keeps changing as you go along, and I love the fact that you get something else on the finish that you didn't pick up at all in the nose or in the initial mouthfeel. It's lovely and syrupy in terms of its thickness. It's really oily, but it's got hints of various different flavors flowing through it from start to finish, which is what really surprised me about this whiskey when you look at it and you see it says 7-year-old whiskey, because that gives nothing away. It's not at all a 7-year-old. You know, I've had various 7-year-olds that taste like new make, and you don't want to go anywhere near those, but this is just a different kettle of fish altogether. There's a maturity to this and a balance to this that you don't expect.
Yeah, I would totally agree as well, because when I did this as a blind, well, I've shared it with a few friends, and I did it as a blind tasting, and they were absolutely surprised to hear it was the age that it was. So everyone put it almost double and above what the actual age statement is. So I think that's a good compliment to the bottling as well.
I mean, are you all drinking it neat at 60.1% and not batting an eyelid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing that you say again. It's just so accessible. And I think that's a showcase of how Arran is. Their whiskies are so accessible at 46%, 55.8%. This is 60.1%. And, you know, I've not even had dinner yet. I'm loving this.
But I think that's what I was striving for. So as I said right at the beginning, it was a gamble for me to go with such a young whiskey, and we could have gone for an older whiskey had I asked Mariella and the guys at the distillery to select some casks that are older. But I thought, I'll chance my luck at going younger, just to see if there is something that is quite special about a younger whiskey from a certain distillery. And I really think this works well, to the point where we bottled it and it sold out. And seeing some of the comments on here is really lovely. Someone said they can't believe it's only 7 years. So it's an anonymous user, but I can't believe this is a 7-year-old whiskey, and I would absolutely agree with that. And the blind tasting, it's 60.1%, so it's going to have a bit of a kick in the face because it's a high ABV. But I wouldn't think this was a 7-year-old whiskey. I'd think it was significantly older, and it's got that oiliness that carries the flavour through as well.
To me, it dispels the myth of age and quality being just completely aligned to each other. Which is, I think it's something that a lot of people, when they start their whiskey journey, get led to believe. And the more people get to try things that are this good at an age where they might have been led to believe they shouldn't even look at it, the better, frankly, because especially the way that aged whiskey can become so expensive, people can feel excluded from a certain level of quality. But they shouldn't feel excluded, because you can get that quality at any age if the wood management's right, if the spirit's right, and if they've come together with that sort of certain amount of magic that you need. So Sean, I honestly, huge kudos for bottling something young, because I think it's a lesson to a lot of us, that we should look at flavour above the words and the numbers sometimes on the bottle.
No, thank you. But the kudos needs to kind of be bounced off me and goes straight back to Mariella and the guys in this tour, because they produced it. But I get what you're saying, because it is about, don't always assume that an older whiskey is going to blow a 7-year-old or a 8-year-old out of the water, because it won't. Sometimes you get things like this, and you can play with this as well. So you can add a little bit of water, and you can bring that strength down. And someone has commented that they tried the water with it, but it killed it slightly. And I think if you put too much water in, even if you bring it down to 50%, it probably does quash it slightly. You can drink this neat, and it does bring out so much flavour. It's great.
I love the fact it's not your classic sherry bomb. It's not just one-dimensional. I love the fact that there's a lot more going on in the glass. There's a lot more to experience with this, and that's, for a Sherry Bomb Whiskey Appreciation Society bottling, well done to you for putting something out there that's sherried but has a lot more going on, and it opens people's eyes to what is possible.
Oh, thank you. Something at the back of my mind that somebody said in, I think it may be Finland, please don't release another whiskey that is above 60% ABV, because it won't get imported into that country. So next time we'll do 59.9 as the highest ABV, I promise.
So hang on, this is illegal in parts of the world.
Yeah,
that just makes it better.
more flavor to it, just knowing that some people will not do. No, I think the kudos needs to go, actually, if I can just do an honorable mention to our now director of production, master blender, before master distiller James McTaggart, that joined us in 2007 after 30 years at Bowmore. It really changed the company inside out. And for those of you that have followed our journey, that our spirit changed a lot. I wasn't there to live it myself. I've only been in the industry for 7-8 years. But yeah, I think if we have good quality spirit, we used to have before as well, but if you have very good quality spirit and a very strict cask policy with very good quality wood, it's also and mostly thanks to him, and obviously thanks to the guys that produce our spirit and mature it on the island. So thanks to them if we have products like this that taste so good at 7 years of age and in such good wood. So they all needs to go to them, really.
Yeah.
And now we have a question from an anonymous Facebook user. I'm involved in the Arran private cask program, the sherry cask, of course. Could I expect a similar whiskey to deployment number 3? Or does Arran use a variety of cask? A variety of cask, absolutely. It's
absolutely not. Will you get a deployment 3?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it really goes in all directions. What we borrow for different markets, and then some markets get. Obviously, every market has preferences. Like the UK at the moment it was going very strong for older age statements. We borrowed quite a few 23, 24-year-old single casks from 95, 96, which was very exciting. Very recently a small batch of heavily sherried like this one, and also heavily peated at 50 ppm for Sweden, which is going very well. Japan gets maybe 5 to 10 single casks per year, and they're like all over the place, peated, unpeated sherry, bourbon, wine. Like it's we're not focused on sherry alone, but obviously if someone asks us for sherry casks, we can definitely use them as an option. But no, the answer is not just. There's not such a thing as a sherry cask program going on. There is only this beautiful occasion now with the Sherry Bomb Whiskey Appreciation Society to bottle something that was heavily sherried and and good for the group as well.
So Mariella, do you think, given that your underlying spirit is sweet and floral and so forth, do you think PX casks just don't suit the spirit?
You know what? I get that question a lot, and I never really asked the team if we ever did PX, but I never heard anyone talking about PX in the company ever. And I never seen a bottling before. If you have seen one, please tell me, because I have never seen a Pedro Jimenez ever, like a conversation about a Pedro Jimenez ever. And I think it was never really thought of in general, but I could be wrong, really, because I've only joined the company for 3 years now, so I've never seen or heard of a PX cask. So I think it will be a little bit too.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, I think it will be a bit too sweet. This actually Oloroso reminds me of when you go to sherry bodegas in Spain and they show you and they let you try their vinegar, like in-house, fortified, wine vinegar. This, I don't know why this deployment free, for the good reasons, remind me of that, is the thickness. It's almost like a liqueur. It's almost like a very good vinegar in your mouth. It's like very mouth coating, very, oily, thick in the palate. It's a beautiful, beautiful texture. I love that.
Just to clarify, we're talking about vinegar from a sherry bodega, not Sarson's vinegar from Sainsbury's.
Yeah, that's why I had to say it, from a bodega. I don't know if you ever tried, specifically a vinegar from a sherry producer, but specifically.
I'm wondering if, because the spirit's quite sweet, it would work with something like a Fino.
I think we've done Finos before. I remember seeing them in the old bottles. I think it goes very well also with red wine, which is, not that far off. But we've done some very good red wine expressions. I personally think, like some Super Tuscan that we've done for Royal Mile Whiskies, which is, super nice red wine from Italy. We've done a Côte Rôtie a few years ago that was also absolutely stunning. But then at the same time, we've done, some, Calvados and Champagne and whatnot. So we've always been experimental, and I think we will be for the foreseeable future anyway. So it's just fun to see how the spirit changes in so many different wood types. But yeah, I think it goes well with the drier style of sherries. Have you ever tried the Master of Distilling 2 that was finished in Palo Cortado from PX grapes, actually?
No.
That's if you're into sherry, and by sherry I don't just mean the Oloroso or the Pedro Jimenez. If you're into sherry and also funky sherry, I highly recommend you trying that, because it goes in all sorts of directions. It's like quince, jelly, sourdough, yeasty, buttery, dried fruits. It's like salted almonds, sort of flavors. It's just very, very unique and very weird and wonderful. So yeah, maybe next time
can we put that up? Possibly put that up on here as a note, because I'll be quite intrigued to try that myself.
Yeah, and Jamie and I know someone who is a sherry pervert, for want of a better word, who does a pilgrimage every year to Jerez to go and look at this stuff. And what he doesn't know about sherry and what he hasn't tried is not worth knowing. Wow, look at that! Oh, I know, I've seen that one. Yeah, that's great.
I think the packaging unfortunately put some people off buying this, but but if you did buy it, you tried it, you did the right thing, because it's absolutely delicious. It's an homage to James McTaggart. Is that the second edition that we did for him? Because we actually, I mean, do you want to hear the puns? Shall we do this? Shall we do this properly? Shall we?
Let's do it.
McTaggart, James McTaggart. Master of Distilling 2, the man with the golden glass, and to finish off, my favorite, James McTaggart, the 2006 casks, 12-year-old, licensed to distill.
He's nailed it.
Doesn't get better than that.
He's almost going up in competition against Amrut, and
yeah, actually, that's a good call. But no, if next time I'll see you, I'll make sure to bring. If we still have some bottles in the office, I'll make sure to share a bottle, because it's one of those sherry conversations that I think people should have, because it's not just about Oloroso and PX. There's so much more, and so so much scope for variety of flavors that you can get from those casks. This is one of the biggest investments in sherry casks we've ever done as a company. These are actually Solera, like proper Solera casks from 1964, or Palo Cortado with PX grapes, or PX like grapes, like they were grown on site at the bodega in Jerez, which I can't name, unfortunately. But yeah, there's some wonderful old sherry casks that just give off very interesting flavors. So just in brackets, sorry, I went like on a tangent, like off topic, but just in case you find it somewhere in a bar, make sure you give it a try.
That's really interesting. I'm going to hunt out some sherries over the weekend, I think, for Christmas. Just conscious of time, I think it's time for the competition.
Drum roll, please. This is super old school. We got a beautiful Brodick Bay box full of names. So, so here I go selecting the winners.
While Mariella's shaking the tin, this is to win a bottle of the Bodega Sherry Cask, and I think we have 3 winners. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. 3 lucky winners. So here I go, picking up the name. I should have looked inside the box, shouldn't I? Wait. There we go. The first lucky winner is bottle number 277. The name is David Churcher. Woohoo! Well done, David.
Well done.
I don't know if you're there. Second winner, it's bottle number 188, and the name is Christopher Ridley. Well done, Christopher. Last one. The number is 131, and the name is Henry Lowe. Well done, Henry, as well. Oh, David is there. Well done. So, well done, David. Well done, Christopher.
Well done, guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Cracking.
Congratulations.
That's a nice Christmas brand for everyone.
Yeah, and we should also say thank you very much to all the people that actually took part and decided to open the bottles, take part in the competition. It's wonderful to see these bottles open and enjoyed, and not flipped the day after on an auction site. So thank you very much for taking part in this, and congratulations to the winner, of course.
Yeah, and it was nice to see so many bottles being opened as well. So thank you for that, and for everyone who did open one. If you haven't demolished the bottle already, I hope you're enjoying what's left of it. I think Ross, you've demolished yours, haven't you?
Yeah, not personally. I've shared it with some others as well. So it is that good.
Now here's the question: should I share what's left of mine with my entire club, or should I just hoard it to myself?
I would say yes, because I'm a member of your whiskey club.
and I would say, in hindsight, keep it for yourself.
I know. Really good. I liked it.
Brilliant. So I don't know if Arthur wants to come back on screen, unless he's vanished. Oh, here he comes. Hey, there he is.
Hey, how's it going? I've been enjoying just having a dram and watching all this chat. It's good. And to try the deployment again was superb.
No, it's really good. It is really good, actually. Arthur, before we kind of wrap up, is there anything that you want to add or say on behalf of Royal Mile and this particular sort of collaboration?
Buy whiskey from Royal Mile? No, not at all. Not at all.
Did someone mute Arthur? Has anyone got the mute button on Arthur?
No, not at all. It's no, not at all. It's been a great pleasure just to kind of like hand over our platform to a whiskey community, and also it's really good to see a brand like Arran, or a distillery like Arran, I should say, because a lot of things you spoke about, I was sitting with a commercial head on in the background and nodding. The difference between bottling a whiskey at 40 and 46% is big once you run the figures on the commercial side or bottling even at cask strength, it's generous to do it at 46% and keep that whiskey below 40 quid in the case of Arran 10-year-old and keep that age statement on. And I think there's a few superb companies that we are really seeing customers move towards and whiskey fans move towards, and Arran is definitely one of those. We don't see them as under the radar at all at the moment. People coming for bottles and coming back for second bottles and opening them and drinking them and enjoying them. And Arran, particularly for me, is, well, we see a lot of customers who come through our doors and you ask why they drink a particular whiskey, and often it's because they went to that distillery. Edgedow is a classic. You went on your first trip to Scotland and you stopped off in Edgedow and you always have that affection. And Arran's one I've got a deep affection for because I used to go over there quite a lot when a Japanese chap called Yoichi was working there with the distillery manager, Gordon. And we used to go and stay with them. He was just this great whiskey guy that I met. He now runs a bar in Japan and used to hang out there a lot at the distillery and drank our way through most of the warehouse, actually, testing casks. So I had so many good times on that island. I probably visited it more than any other distillery, actually. And
you can remember it?
Some of it, but it was kind of the first distillery that I grew up with and saw it age and remember when it first came out as a 10-year-old, and it seemed, well, it made me feel very old when you brought out an 18-year-old. So yeah, it's one of those distilleries I just love to see do so well and employing good people. Ewan at the top, he's just a great guy. And so yeah, I love Arran.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Also, just before we leave, I just want to say a huge thank you, Arthur, for allowing us to do all this on the platform, for organizing all this. Thank you, Sean, and thank you guys for joining us as well. It's been lovely to chat with you and have a drink virtually, and I hope we'll have one soon face to face again. So, but thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's been great. And Mariella, thank you for your time and taking us through the Arran journey as well. It's been really interesting, and look forward to see what comes out of those warehouse doors soon.
Same.
Great. Well, cheerio, everybody. So I gradually bring people out of the screen. Thanks very much, Paul, for coming along. And Jamie as well. I hope your kids behave themselves. And cheers, Ross. Thanks for coming along. Oh, cut him off as well. Oh, well, I'll give a more gracious goodbye to you, Mariella. Thank you. So good to see you again.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in as well from home and watching this. If you're watching it now or later, thank you. See you soon.
Yeah. See you at Whisky Fringe. I think probably the next time.
I hope so. Yeah, love to.
Yeah. Cheers, Mariella. And Sean, congratulations, well done. It must be nice to see all these people enjoying your whiskey.
It's great, and it's it keeps it going, doesn't it? So yeah, no, thank you for all of your help in doing this tonight. Appreciated.
Yeah, and no pressure finding another whiskey as good as that one.
Good challenge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I've no doubt you will, and it's great to see that bottling do so well. So
thank you.
Thanks very much, and see you soon.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. That's great. Thank you for everyone for contributing, and some great comments there, and we'll see you soon.